Hello, Attactioneers. Welcome to America's Flesh and Blood podcast, the premier Flesh and Blood podcast on the internet, the Attack Action podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Morrow. I was going to make a joke, but nothing came to me in the moment.
Wait a you could have thought of one earlier and then said it, but way to make it hard on yourself. I know I'll think of one in the moment.
Hard mode always. Yeah.
I'm Isaac, your other co-host of the Attack Action podcast. And today we're going to do a set review of Bright Lights.
Incredible. So typically in our episodes, we would banter and bullshit for 30 minutes or so, or vamping, maybe is how podcasters call it.
Afterwards, also several segments and a long outro kind of petering out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is our calling card. It's our signature. It's our vibe. I don't know what it is.
It's what we do.
It's what we do. But we're not doing that today because we're just getting to the set review and there's like 5,000 new mech cards and you can draft them and we have to give all of those a rating. And that will take a while. So we're going to cut out all that other bullshit and just get down to fucking brass tacks here.
We have a few rules for this unique draftable set. We are not going to review any of the other class cards that come in the bonus slot because they're not limited cards. And we're also not going to review any of the legendaries that you could pull out of this set because
they also come in the expandable slot and can't be drafted.
Yep. So we'll just be talking about Majestics, Rares, and Commons and their ramifications in limited play. In our next podcast, sometime here in the future, we will discuss the other new cards when we think about them and, you know, some constructed ramifications.
Hell yeah. Before we get started, in truth, a disclaimer. I don't know if it's a disclaimer. I have played in 2 pre-releases. And so I don't know what that means.
I just played in 2. This might be the first time we're not on even ground here.
So I know a few more things and have a bit more of an informed decision, I guess. And I don't know why I'm prefacing this whole episode by this, but if Isaac winds up being more right than me, that's just because his head is larger, thus his brain is bigger, and that's why.
Yep, I will be entirely winging it. I was unable to attend any pre-releases. I was going to ask you earlier, but then I thought I'd save it for the pod. How were your pre-releases?
Perfect. They were fun as shit. So went to one in Santa Rosa. I wish I could remember the name of the store. But shout out to Fab Open Mic. That gentleman is there. I forget his name. Todd.
What's
Travis.
Up,
Todd? Sorry if you listen to the podcast and I'm fucking this up. It's been a long day of work. And I'm a little tired. But it was awesome. There's a lot of really nice, psyched people there. Clean store. And Bright Lights is a ton of fun. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a fun set. And then getting to play it was more fun than I had anticipated. And it's very deep. It feels like and complex. And I feel like I said that about Outsiders. And then Outsiders was just kind of like not as deep and complex as I thought it was going to be. It was pretty face up. But I do think there's a few more tricks and interesting interactions and play patterns in this particular set than there was in Outsiders. So I enjoyed that more, the extra added complexity. And then we had our local pre-release as well. And that was a ton of fun. Just some good broing out. And big shout out to Levi, who is now a part owner of our local game shop, and it's already looking
What?
better.
I didn't know that.
So shout out to him.
Great job, Levi.
Yeah. There we go.
Nice. Awesome.
Bright Lights is so fun. It's so
Nice.
fun.
I was going to say,
I didn't say it with enough viv.
I think also Outsiders was complex because you had like 6 different archetypes to choose from with your cards, kind of in maybe stark contrast to like Uprising or something like that. So maybe the play patterns, except for Katsu, weren't like exceptionally complicated, but drafting for your archetype or your hero, at least, had quite a bit of variety. But glad to hear it. Glad to hear the rave review.
Yeah, I'm not, I've said this on the podcast, not a fan of Dash and Mechanologist up until this point, which I think I might become a Mechanologist fan.
Well,
specifically from this
they
set,
introduced
because it's so fun.
A number of new mechanics to the Met class, right? Like there's a bunch of new ways to play the hero. I would argue probably more so than like they just gave Azalea a big bump, right? But it was just kind of like better cards in the same vein. These new heroes and this upgrade to the Met classes really broaden the play.
Absolutely. So it's fun. I can't wait for you to play and for us to play together.
Me too.
It's going to be a great time. I got 6 packs in my backpack right now. Nitro sealed, ready to go.
Well,
okay. That's all I got to say about that. Let's get into
the
it.
Nitty gritty. Let's go.
Hit the gritty, as the kids say. It's a fun dance move.
If you want to subscribe to our Patreon, Taylor will be uploading a video of him knitting the gritty in a fun Halloween costume soon.
Hitting the gritty.
Oh. Yeah.
Or I will hit the gritty. All right. Stay in your lane, Isaac. Right. Stay in your lane. You're out of your element. Shout out to the Big Lebowski. All right. We're going to briefly talk about the heroes and their weapons. So we'll start with Dash Database. So basically, Dash gets to look at the top card of their deck anytime they want and play items off of the top at instant speed once per turn. And it costs an extra resource to play. 4 intellect, 18 health. Isaac, thoughts about this hero having never played with the set?
Well, that's how the set reviews work. You just cheated and went ahead and played. Are you going to?
I didn't cheat.
Are you going to preface
time happened to work out in my favor?
Every card review with that.
Yeah, totally. Well, you gave that a 5. That's because you don't know any better.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm ready to spew my opinions anyway. I am not really impressed with Dash Database from a limited standpoint because she has less health and her hero ability relies on RNG off the top of the deck, specifically with items that don't block. So for every item that you hit off the top, gaining card advantage in the form of an extra card, you've probably like drawn 4 items that don't block in your hands, which I understand in this set is inevitable to play some of these items, and some of them are worth the risk and quite powerful. But, this isn't CC where you can like upgrade your pistol a bunch, or this is like specifically what you're looking for. It's, I don't know. I don't entirely understand her win con or like her hero ability in a limited format. Do you have any insights into how to play Dash Database in limited?
Yes, I do. So it's entirely dependent upon the quality of your items. And then Dash becomes very powerful.
Is it just boom grenade? Is that like the one card?
That's obviously really good in a key play. It's also overload script is very, very good as well. Hyperdriver can be really good. Megahertz
You're
script,
talking about all these off the
also
top,
good.
right?
And we'll get in. Oh yeah, totally. Or to just have them, you know what I mean? They're worth running. Backup protocol red, maybe even backup protocol yellow. So if you have kind of the quality of items, then getting to play them at instant speed, gaining action points, and then like also not having to boost some of your cards, and then the synergy with symbiosis shot can be like pretty powerful. But if you have like shit items, then dash sucks. And you just like slowly die because you have shitty items that don't do a ton and they don't block.
Right. You have to hold cards to play them to just get them out of your deck.
Yeah, totally. It would also depend on your like what scrap cards you have. Like hydraulic press is really good. Any of the ones that give you overpower, or soup up could be a good maneuver as well. There's just like let's see here. Is it? I think it's scrap harvester would also be pretty good, but expensive. But there's just like a certain like dash package is what it feels like. And if you have that, it's going to be really good. And if you don't have that, it's going to be not good.
Gotcha. I'm most intrigued by her peak power, to be honest. Like being able to choose what you boost or what you don't boost, or like digging for an item and then boosting and then looking again to see if you find an item. Like that ability is, fairly powerful, I think. And being able to plan your turn around it on your opponent's turn before you declare blocks, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I think that definitely has quite a bit of value.
Yeah, it for sure does. Okay. Max Nitro. So he gets to spend 2 resources to create a hyperdriver with 2 tokens on it. And you can only do that if you've boosted. And then he has Banksy, and the hyperdriver comes in with 2 steam counters unless you crank it. And then Banksy is a 1 for 3, but you can only activate it if you've cranked this turn. What are your thoughts on Max Nitro, even though you've never played a game of Bright Lights?
It's going to be an even longer pod.
If you just hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have said anything.
So specifically, Max Nitro also reads hyperdrivers you control get crank. So the tokens he creates or any you may be playing in your deck always get crank, enabling you to turn on Banksy. I like Max Nitro. He has 20 health and he seems like a very capable, aggressive character, right? There's quite a few cards in the set that get turned on by you cranking this turn, by you boosting this turn. And, he has the ability to kind of like choose when these cards get triggered instead of just relying on like, oh, did I draw a hand where I can like play an item and crank it, or, like whatever, just relying on your cards. He seems to like kind of even out that RNG. What are your thoughts on Max Nitro? Max
Nitro is awesome. I played him in both of my pre-releases. And that was just because I didn't have the Evos. Like I had plenty of Evos in one sealed pool, but they were all for the same 2 slots. And then I just didn't have quality items for Dash in both sealed pools. So it was Max for me. So he's a little bit less aggro than he looks up at face value. He is like very much more like, I guess mid-range is the best way to put it. I mean, all of these heroes are pretty mid-rangey because almost like so many of these cards block for 3. But the best you can do, the most efficient turn you have kind of is a 0 costed boost attack and pitch a blue, make a hyperdriver, crank it, and then Banksy, and that's somewhere between 6 and 4 damage, which is pretty good off of a 2-card hand,
I'm only burning 1 card out of deck.
Yeah. which is important also. But they kind of have to block Banksy. It's like its hit effect that it puts another steam counter on an item with crank is like pretty legit, because there's like some, quality items like a hyperdriver, which once you get that ball rolling, that's like really, really good. And then, or like boom grenade, you also could put another steam counter on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Banksy's really good. That ability, like 3 damage. I mean, you said a lot of cards block for 3 in this set, but 3 damage forcing a block off the weapon is, pretty powerful, especially in this set with kind of like subpar weapons.
Yeah, definitely. So I won quite a few games with him. I only dropped 2 games over the 2 pre-releases, and I played him like pretty mid-range, like boost a thing, hyperdriver, Banksy a lot of the times, or sometimes just like a big attack, like a 3 for 6 or something like that, and save kind of hyperdriver resources and stuff. But you do feel like a shiny golden god when you somehow get 2 hyperdrivers out there, and or a hyperdriver with an extra resource on it. You're like, this is awesome. But then you're like, oh shit, I drew my cards that need an item to be destroyed right now. Why does this have an extra counter on it? So it's all give and take. But Max is really, really fun to play. It's a cool play pattern for sure.
I do like a deck with an engine.
Yeah. But much like Dash, it's like if you're left with 1 card in hand at the end of the game, well, if Dash has counters on her pistol, she can just shoot the pistol. Or, excuse me, gun. It's not a pistol, it's a gun. And then if Max has 1 card in hand, it better be free, because you can't swing Banksy, because you need to crank an item. So, challenging.
All right, our last hero or villain, Teklo-Vessen. Along with the Teklo Leveler, which is the only non-specialization weapon in the format. So technically not his weapon, everybody's weapon, but kind of built for him. Teklo-Vessen is, you may play Evos from your banish zone. He also has an ability, once per turn instant, pay 3. You may play your next Evo this turn as though it were an instant. When you do, draw a card. It's very Kano-esque.
Hell yeah.
All right. What do you think of Teklo-Vessen?
Yeah. He's pretty rad. He kind of falls into the Dash category of, you got to have kind of the right Evos to make it work. And the payoff cards, you don't really need the payoff cards, but like all of the ones that say Evo upgrade are rares. So they're more rare. So you'll see like less of those. So if you can get a couple of those and Evos for kind of each slot, you can do pretty well with just like Teklo Leveler into 2-costed thing, is a pretty good play pattern. So he's cool. He has like a few less tricks, and definitely has to like, they all heroes have to manage the game in like a different way. That's what's really, I think, clever about the set, is that Max is a bit more boost oriented. So he has to like make sure he doesn't fatigue himself, and Dash has to, manage items and gun ammo and blocks and health and stuff like that. And Teklo-Vessen really has to like manage his health while he builds up a little bit of Evo armor, and then also not lose that Evo armor and lose abilities on the Teklo Leveler. So it's interesting. Yeah. It's cool.
The 2 things I notice about Teklo-Vessen is, first of all, the Teklo Leveler is like an actual gun, right? Like, as opposed to the other 2 weapons, which are conditional. The Teklo Leveler is very powerful endgame. And so long as you can survive, it's kind of inevitable, right? Like getting these Evos is, fairly easy for Teklo-Vessen. So seems like a scary endgame to me. The other thing I would note is that Teklo-Vessen can kind of get like double value out of cards. So you can like block with an Evo, scrap it, and then play it from banish. So you get the block value from blocking it with it as a card from hand, and then you get it again with blocking with it as armor, if that's how you're playing. So if this set is, more fatigue oriented, or like use all the cards in your deck, get value out of all of your cards oriented, that's very powerful, especially for some of these evos that like, block 3. So you get to block 6 with one card essentially, and use kind of the best standalone weapon.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely the second thing you said, like get the most value out of your cards over the course of the game for sure. But Teklo Leveler, it's tough. You're still only 20 health and you have to have an Evo to even use it first, So it definitely has some downsides and he has some setup to go and that sort of thing. So, yeah, he's an interesting hero. And to like get the Evo in your hand, block with it, use a thing that scraps it, and then be able to play it, that like takes a long time as well.
For sure.
So you really have to be cognizant of your game plan with him for sure.
I guess, that's probably secondary to the most obvious, like Teklovesen is less scared of banishing his power cards, right? Like it's like highly risky for some characters, but he almost wants to boost, his power cards essentially. You still lose cards from deck as you boost too many away, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it totally is cool. They're all fun. Play them all. All right, let's get into it. Here we go. So we're doing a rating system of 1 through 5 stars, 1 being Memorial Ground, and 5 being something like V of the Vanguard. Absolute bombs. Huge reason to run that hero, maybe even a card that wins you the game. And then 1 being absolute trash, throw it away. You're definitely losing if your deck's full of those.
I will say this set was maybe the hardest for me to rate because, so like in previous sets, right? Like if I rate, an arrow, it's like obviously being shot from the ranger character and used in this, condition, right? But because this set is all mechanologist, but some cards are like clearly meant for one character, it's like you don't get to rate that card. Like I can't like just rate a card only when Teklovesen is using it, even though it's like clearly a card for him. All the cards can be used by everybody and are much better in some roles and heroes than other roles or heroes. So that made it a little bit tricky.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as the audience will see me and you, which I think is the beauty of when we do set reviews is we look at the cards through very different lenses, which hopefully is very valuable for learning tools. I basically viewed them only in the lens of the hero I believe for them to be most useful in.
Oh, I see. That's how I did like a general. It's not fair. You have 4 lenses. I only have 2.
That's a glasses joke.
He was wearing his glasses
for everybody out there. But it just is. It is what it is. You said something else in there that sparked an idea, and then I instantly forgot it, staring into your baby blues. So
I get that a lot.
It happens. Yeah.
All right.
Common stance around here. So first card up for us is Cogworks Basehead. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 Cogworks cards. I'm going to rate them kind of in a bunch here and then go to you. And then you can do the next card is kind of our rhythm here. So these all can't block, but when you equip them, you get a steam counter on them, and they all have an instant once per turn ability that when you remove that steam counter, it then will do a thing. And you can only do that if you've boosted. So I gave the headpiece a 2. It's very narrow. It's very specific. You get a card from your banish zone back into your deck. So I gave that a 2. niche application. And then I gave the other ones, the chest, the arms, and the legs, all threes. Just run, right in the middle. Pretty good. Happy to have them.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. I gave the whole set 2 stars. I think it's like these abilities have merit, especially I actually like the head ability. You get like your best card back. But I kind of like the legs also.
And then hopefully don't boost
an extra, the legs give you an extra action point. But for me, like in a draft setting, this is not worth drafting, right? Like it doesn't block. The abilities are okay, but it takes a whole card. So if you end up getting past one of these late, sure, it's better than the token ones you get. But to me, you're not going to get a whole cards with a value out of these. So I just gave them, 2 stars. Function just fine. Not really worth picking.
Maybe I'll go more in depth here on my rating for 3 is the base chest is a one-time Teklo Foundry Heart, basically. So you gain a resource, which is pretty big. We've seen that in draft quite a few times. And that's like very, very useful because with a blue, you basically can pay with Max for a 1-for-4 booster and then still do his ability and swing Banksy. So that becomes like a 1-card 7. In the Cogworks arms, I at first was like, oh, these aren't that great. But then it's Mechanologist attack, not Mechanologist attack action. So it also buffs a weapon. So it has extra value there, which sometimes you just have. Mechanologist math is weird, and sometimes you do it wrong, and you're like, oh shit, I have an extra resource. And then having the arms or the chest, having the arms is a great resource sink, because then even Banksy is then a 1-for-4, or it's actually a 2-for-4, but could use your hyperdriver thing for that. And then the to get a action point is also pretty huge in fatigue games, where if you can just use one of your resources to replace a card, like a whole card you maybe could use, that could be like 3 damage to just play another one, is pretty awesome as well. So
fair enough.
I thought those abilities were pretty good, but still only 3s. They don't block.
Yep. Onto the Teklo base set, which I also gave 2 stars. The whole thing. I mean, these to me are like just fine, right? Like they block breakpoints, which is great, but you already get the token bases, and then if you block with these, you can't then upgrade them. So if I get past one, I'm gonna slide it into its slot. If I don't, I'm not gonna pick it.
Yeah, I would definitely pick the Cogworks ones over these, and they block, which is good, but they're, like you said, like a whole card in your draft. So kind of like an afterthought, but still good to have, because they're, if you wind up with very few items, this is one of the things you can block with early and then turns on all of your scrap abilities one time, because the token ones you can't get rid of, even I think, even if you upgrade them as Evos and then block with them, they still disappear because they're tokens. So pretty good, but not the best. So just a 2.
All right.
Next up, we have, oh, sorry. Did you want to say some more about that?
I just said, all right.
Oh, okay. Sweet. Next, we have the Evo Steel Evos. And there's 4 of those. So I gave these a 3 if you're Teklovossen, because they're blue block 3s, and that's pretty good. But the 4 cost is still pretty steep. But for everyone else, I gave them like a 2, just because instead of a 1, they're still blues that block 3, and you can scrap them. So they're a little bit better than a 1.
Yep. I gave all of these 4 stars for the same reason, right? They're like a blue that blocks 3 that are actually really good evos. Can be scrapped, like you said. And, there's like the off chance that you get one in your opening hand. And yeah, just like very good all the way around.
I just figured because they're majestic, you maybe only have one, and I don't know. I don't think it's the best Evo you even want. So, but it's pretty serviceable in Tekla-Vossen.
All right. On to our Evo circuit breaker set. Not all of these have unique set names, so bear with us here.
Yeah.
So I gave this set 2 stars. I don't know. I mean, all of these abilities are functional, but these cards are red. They don't block as a card or as a piece of equipment. And I don't know. For that reason, they're just like pretty niche for me. They do have a 0 block. So if you really want to get it into your graveyard, you can. But I was just fairly unimpressed with their abilities. Or not to... Just their abilities for me did not make up for the fact that they're like red, no block cards that don't deal damage.
Yeah, I get that. I gave the head 2 stars and the rest are like 3+. I think it's a pretty strong ability on the chest. So it's like at instant speed, gain 2 resources, which could power your whole turn. Mm-hmm. And turning your red into a 2 resource thing, and then also being able to block with it to scrap it later is kind of like 3 points of value off of a red, which I thought was like pretty good. And that kind of goes for the arms and the legs. And since they're instants, they're more applicable across more classes. Mm-hmm. So they got a bump there as well for me.
Sounds good.
On to the yellow Evos, the tanky yellow Evos. I gave them, their yellow block 3s that cost 3 and have abilities. So I gave them basically a 3. They're really hard to evaluate, especially because like to play this, from your banish zone is pretty good at, for 3 resources, but you would have to have like a 0 cost attack to kind of keep, keep pace with your opponent, or do nothing and just equip this. So just because of the potential in Tekla-Vossen, I just gave them all 3 stars because they would be some Evos I would want. They block 3 and they're like a thing I actively want to do in that deck. But for everybody else, they're 2s and they don't get a 1 because they block 3.
Interesting.
And that's important in this set.
I gave the set 5 stars. I think their abilities are pretty good, especially the head and the feet. These are really good in Tekla-Vossen, but I think they're good in everybody else. Because they pitch, they're yellow, they block 3. Anybody would have to be happy to play them turn 0 or kind of at any point in the game where you get some breathing room. I think because you just always get the value from these cards.
Gotcha.
You can always block with them. You can always play them and get value out of their abilities. Importantly, they cost 3, so they only cost a blue to play as opposed to 4 cost. And I was just impressed with the value from them. And again, in Tekla-Vossen, they each block 6 or, enable your weapon. So,
yeah, if you can do that. I just didn't see the... if I'm going to spend 3 resources, I could attack for 6, if I'm not Tekla-Vossen. So I just didn't see how I would want to pick one of these, I'm just going to call them the tank Evos, over a 3 for 6. You know what I mean? If I'm not Tekla-Vossen. That was kind of my reasoning for a low rating.
Fair enough.
Because like at the end of the game, if you do pitch it, it doesn't do anything. It just blocks because you can't attack with it, and it's not a blue, so you can't use it in your max little play pattern to Banksy, and then it doesn't do anything in dash. So that was my reasoning.
Maybe this is too implausible, but yeah. So in my brain, it went like, so I can block for 6, and then I can play out Evo Command Center on my turn, right? And then a little bit later in the game, when there's a power shift, I can, I could use it to block if I needed to, but I could also use its ability, which is pretty good when I'm overrunning my opponent to get even more gas, et cetera, et cetera. It just seemed very powerful to me. But anyway, what do we have up next?
I skipped the other blue 2 blocks that come in bright lights. I mean, that come in round the table. I haven't seen those in a pre-release, so I didn't know if they were actually in the set, but maybe they are.
I think they are.
But, well, I skipped them. They're trash.
I gave them 2 stars. Yeah, they're pretty bad. They're just
perfect.
They're blue, and then in Teklevossen they could block 4 6 or 5. Or for anybody else, they're like blue, and if you get them turn 0, then you have an extra 3 block. But yeah, I think they're bad.
Evo Sentry set. I gave this all 2. Gave it all a 2. Whole set. That's it.
Yep. I mean, I give it
pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they don't really.
Go ahead.
They don't do much. I mean, I give them 3 stars, but yeah, they're nothing to write home about. Evo.
Yeah.
Data
I mean,
mine set.
Go ahead.
Sorry. You want to move on, or you want to talk about
no,
the set?
go ahead.
The Sentry set does have the cool art.
Yeah. Some of the best Evo art for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know if there's much to say. They're reds that block 2, that cost 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And their only value is once they're an Evo. Yep. And to get them there, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. So
okay,
Evo Data Mine, I gave 2 stars.
Yeah, I also rated all of these kind of the same as 2 stars. They're maybe a little bit better with Teklevossen, but they come at a real cost because they have blade break. Mm-hmm. So if these are kind of your final, I mean, they have to be your final Evos, but then if you block with them, your weapon gets worse. So I then just bumped it back down to a 2.
Yeah, and
even with their ability.
Yeah, the way I think about it is like take the cog splitter, right? Like it costs 0, so you only need 1 card to play it out, which is kind of nice. But then, yeah, you only get a 2 block out of it.
One time.
Yeah. So it takes a whole card out of your deck to get a 2 block out of it. And then you get the 1 instant ability that's like pretty good or okay or not great, depending on kind of if it comes up. So this is like a draft pick you used to use your action point and, just not get a lot of return on it. So.
Yeah, totally. The legs are maybe the better ones, but even then it's, I'm not sure what deck you put this action item in that is, that makes that worth it. Next up is what I'm calling the Onomatopoeia Evo set. I don't know why, because it's like buzz, zoom, whiz, zip. I gave these 2/2+, and they get the 2+ because they're instants, so they're much more applicable to other decks. And I definitely used Whiz Bang quite a bit. I think that one's the best one because it also says target attack. So it also buffs a weapon, which is really awesome. And an attack action card as well. Um, so yeah,
Nice.
2/2
I gave
plus.
these 1 star just because they're like, they don't block as a card or as an equipment. And their ability is like, I guess, okay. But like Buzz Hive is like, so I burn a whole card to gain a resource, you know? Whiz Bang, I think, is probably the best because you could pit or, push through a hit effect. But it's just like, I burn a whole card to gain Go Again, which is what Boost does anyway. Or just because they don't like do anything else or block 1 star.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Right, we're going to move on here to, I don't even know what category this is. They're in kind of categories on February. I'm sure everybody's noticed, but we'll move into the Annihilator Engine category here. And
the Evo payoffs.
We have 3 Majestics called Annihilator Engine, Terminator Tank, and War Machine. All of the art is over the top, and man, it's like freaking Mech City. I gave
so cool.
Yeah, I gave all of these cards 3 stars. They're just, again, I didn't rank cards based on their play and only like where they're meant to be played. So for me, these are pretty good in Teklevosen, maybe less good in other heroes, but they still like block 3. But in Teklevosen, I would be happy to have, 1 or 2 of these pitched towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I kind of gave these like 2+ stars. I mean, especially the ones like the big tanks that cost 6, Annihilator Engine, Terminator Tank, War Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would not spend an early pick on one of these, but if it wheeled and I was in Teklevosen, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. Hopefully it becomes a 3 for 6, but it's not like actively a super good card, So that's kind of what I went with there. They're like not that awesome.
Yeah.
They're just like, if it worked, then it would be awesome. But
I mean,
might be hard to build.
Some
towards.
of them, like Terminator Tank's pretty good. It's like a 3 for 6, so a 2-card hand. And when this hits a hero, they discard a card. It's like pretty good pressure. Yeah. But yeah, not great. They're red, but still block 3.
Yeah. Next up is Demolition Protocol. I guess then there's 3 tanks and there's 3 protocols. The protocols I kind of just gave the same rating. They're Majestics that have a niche upgrade. They're a little bit better. They're maybe like 2 pluses solidly because they are just a 3 for 7, 3 for 6. But Magnetic Protocol is like a 3 for 5. We can get better rates on common cards with similar abilities.
I gave these 4 or 5 stars. So to me, there are not a lot of like bombs in the set. Like there's no Via the Vanguard or Soul Reaping, right? But just in terms of the best cards, I might give these 5 stars just because at their like base, they block for 3 and they're like a 3 for 6 or a 3 for 7, right? Or a blue 3 for 5, which is pretty good value. And then their value just goes up with Evos. So to me, there's just like no downside. They're just very good cards. And they're at their floor. They cost your opponent 2 cards out of their deck to your 1 card out of your deck. So
yeah, I guess that's fair. I just kept thinking like, I can do Rev Up with a hyperdriver that's a 2 for 6 with Go Again. That feels better than
with the
boost. Yeah. That just feels better.
That costs 2 cards out of your deck was my thinking. Right?
Totally.
So that it doesn't just cost 1 card, it costs 2.
But you could also just cast it without boosting it, and it's like the same amount of damage. And I would rather probably have boost than the Evo upgrade ability. But I mean, it's pretty moot because like maybe I have one of these in my deck, and then yeah. All right, moving on.
On to Steel Street Enforcement. I gave this 1 star.
I think I gave it the same. Yeah, 1 star.
I mean, the downside is not a good enough excuse. Or I mean, sorry, the upside is not a good enough excuse for the downside.
Yeah, totally. It's only good when it's like a block for 5.
Yeah. And then you're probably
can't guarantee you'll get that in draft
anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, we're starting to get into our rares here. So we have heavy artillery. So these are Evo upgrades. The defending hero can't defend with this. Can't defend this with attack action cards with cost less than X, where X is the number of Evos you control. So more Evos you get, the better it gets. I think this is pretty good regardless. Not a like, ooh, I got to play Teklo Vossen, but just a solid card, 3 for 6. It's 3 stars.
I gave it 3 stars also.
In red.
It's a bit like under.
And the blue's probably, blue's probably 3 as well. Yellow, could do better.
Yeah, it's like a little bit under value, right? 3 for 6 is not the best value, but it blocks 3. It has a bigger upside. It's kind of like a win condition in Teklovossen in the end game, just solid card.
Yeah.
Liquid cooled mayhem here. I gave this 3 stars. I think I might downgrade it to 2. It's like the same thing, right? Like this could be free, but if I draw it before I hit an Evo, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. And then I guess I'm just going to block with it. So that's okay. All right. 3 stars.
I think the blue is the best because it could be a like blue that is a 1 for 4,
or a 0 for 4
kind of. Yeah. I mean, that's obviously the best case scenario, which is kind of a lot of value there. So I kind of like that better than the other ones. Just cost reduction is huge. Like if you have, 2 Evos and you wind up with a free, or not even a free, or 2 Evos and or 3 Evos. I don't know. If you have more than 2, the red gets really good because then it allows you to do like a lot of other stuff. Then it costs 2 for 6. So you can easily pitch blue, have a 1 cost booster into that. Then you're like 3 card 9, 3 card 10, which is really good. Or you could use your weapon before it, etc. So it has, I think, a better upside for dealing more damage, which is how you win the game in Flesh and Blood. So that one, they kind of get like a 3+, but solid 3 regardless. Next up, we have Mechanical Strength, which is at red 3 for 5, blocks 3. Evo upgrade. This gets plus X, where X is the number of Evos you have equipped. I mean, perfect world, it's a 3 for 9, but in reality, it's maybe 3 for 8 late if you can. So I think maybe it's like the same rating. I kind of give the red a 3 if you see it a little bit like mid game, and the blue I maybe give a 4 because then it's like a blue that's all of a sudden a 3 for 7, 3 for 6,
Yeah, I gave these 4 stars. I mean, I'm specifically looking at the red, but it just starts out as one of your cards for 2 of their cards, and then the upside is like great, almost a win condition if they use 3 cards to block this 1 card, or if you can use it to push damage. So I was pretty sold, not Not a crazy busted card, but just a good role player. Also, I just want to interject. I'm just excited that each person gets to build their own unique mech every game. That's pretty cool. You know, you have like the whiz
cool.
bang arms and the tanky chest, and I don't know. I'm just excited to play my own little game of, mech construction.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have grinding gears. Now, I gave this 5 stars, which is probably not the case. But I just wanted to envision some sort of crazy world where, Max gets to put extra counters on it and you have extra action points and you just like mill 4 cards out of their deck, which I know is not going to happen. This is probably like a 2-star card.
5 stars on a blue that doesn't block.
Just in my dreams, it is like 4 cards. They don't get to pick what they are. Boom, out of their deck.
I gave this 2-, but I think I'm going to downgrade it to 1-.
Oh, nice. I didn't know there wasn't 1-.
Because I'd rather take cards out of their deck by threatening damage than
not grinding
playing
your
this blue and cranking it to then spend my action point to destroy 1 card. Yeah. 1-. Next up, we have Prismatic Lens. This also has crank. It's a mech item, doesn't block, enters the arena with a steam counter, and you got to remove a steam counter at the start of your turn. And then it has a once per turn instant, reveal the top card of your deck, put a mechanologist item of the same color from your banish zone on top of your deck. I give this 2 stars because there are quite a few really important items. And if you had a way to recur some of your boom grenades or backup protocols in Dash, that could be a nice little combo piece. But outside of that application, it's a yellow that costs 1 and then costs 2 off the top of your Dash and doesn't block. And blocking is really important in this set. So you got to pick your items wisely. But because it has that tiny bit of upside, this is my upgraded card because of upside, but I just went up 1 notch from 1 to 2 instead of from 1 to 5 like Isaac did on the last one.
Yeah, I gave this 1 star just because it's like you have to, it costs 1 also. So you have to play it, and then you have to hit the right color off the top of your deck to get the item you want, which you may know if that's going to happen or not with Dash, but you can't manipulate that. So it, doesn't much matter. And I don't know, it costs you all of that to like maybe get your item back. And I couldn't think of items in which, or, with which this was worth all of that. I mean, I know like red boomer grenades good and stuff, but it's just too convoluted. 1 star. I'm just going to hit people with totally my wrench, not fiddle fucking around with my lens.
You can use a yellow and then play Prismatic Lens and crank it and then wrench.
Fair enough. On to Quantum Processor, which I quite like the art on this card, but I'm going to give it 1 star.
Yeah, 1 star minus. What does this card do, Isaac?
Oh, are we reading all the cards?
I think we should read some of them.
It's a yellow.
This is an audio medium.
1 no block item. It has crank. Enters the arena with a steam counter. That whole thing. Once per turn instant. For 0, put a mechanologist item with cost 0 or 1 from your hand into the arena. Which is like, I guess it could be around for 2 turns, but it costs you a whole card when you could have just used that action point to play one of those items. So that,
Yeah. You're obviously missing it. This is 20 stars. Just kidding. 1- star. Minus like 1 star.
I would have also given these a minus.
Next card, these all have like some of the best art for sure, is Stasis Cell. It's a blue, doesn't block item, cost 0. When this enters or leaves the arena, activated abilities of target equipment can't be activated until end of its controller's next turn. Action, put this on the bottom of its owner's deck. Choose an equipment. Can't be defended this turn. Go again. 0 stars. It doesn't have crank. Takes your whole action. Doesn't block. Does a weird thing that maybe doesn't matter. 0 stars.
It's cool. It does something when it enters or leaves the arena, and it has an action to like make it leave the arena. All of that is really cool. But then, what it does is a 1-star thing. So my favorite mech art ever, though, I think. Very cool.
Nice. Half star.
5-star art, 1-star card. TikTok clock. I also gave 1 star. Do you have any parody here, or?
I somehow skipped this one. No, I'm just going to agree with you. 1 star. TikTok clock has crank, which is cool, but it's a blue. Enters the arena with a steam counter. Remove a steam counter or destroy it, and it deals 1 damage to you unless you remove a steam counter. When an attack action card you control hits a hero, destroy this and up to 2 other items in the arena. They deal X damage, where X is the number of items destroyed this way. 0 stars. 1 star because it has crank.
Yep. So fortunately, all those items we just 1-starred are all majestic. So,
So don't worry about it. Trash, pass them along. Into stuff you might actually draft here. Fuel injector. It's a blue 0 cost item that doesn't block instant. Put this on the bottom of its owner's deck. Gain a resource. I gave this 2 stars because it is neutral in some regard when it's off the top from dash. So it's like you can, it's kind of like it's 2 damage basically, because you play it off the top and then it puts a counter on Symbiosis Shot. And then you can also use it to gain that resource back you used to play it. So it's 2 damage. So for 2 damage, you get 2 stars.
I'm going to give it 1 star. It's too cute. I don't want to draw it. I don't want to use my action point to play it. I don't want to use its ability and then draw it late game and have it not be like a late game power card. So, yeah. Up next, we have Medkit, which is a blue item that doesn't block, 0 cost, and it reads action. Put this on the bottom of its owner's deck. Gain 2 life. So I gave this 4 stars, specifically in a certain archetype, right? Because if you're running like maybe Tech Leviathan or a late game kind of like fatigue style plan where, say all you do is like block and like play this out, or, next turn, say you like attack with your weapon and then use this ability. It's pretty good if you do this a couple or 3 times in a game. So very niche use, 1 star in all other cases.
0 stars. I had this played against me and it did nothing in the game. It was just a pure liability. And I was like, oh fuck, is he going to recur this over and over? And no, it like was net 0, because then it was like a block card later and they died because it was in their hand and they couldn't block with it. So 0 stars.
My whole game plan was leaning on that.
Yeah, I know. Steam canister. It's a blue 0 cost item that doesn't block. It has instant. Put this on top of its owner's deck. Put a steam counter on an item you control with crank. I would rather swing the old Banksy to get steam counters. 1 star. I give 1 star because a steam counter could be pretty good.
Negative 0 stars. Or what? I don't know how low we're letting ourselves go.
Yeah, totally.
1 star.
All right. Perfect.
All right. On to Polarity Reversal Script, which is a 1-cost red item, doesn't block, has crank. Enters the arena with a steam counter. Action cards get -1 defense while defending your mechanologist attack action cards. So I deliberated on this card a bit. I landed on 2 stars, but this ability could be quite powerful when like used in dash or used before your big set. Like if you can pitch stack this to the hand that comes before your big power turn. This is like a really, really good ability. But just like the red 1-cost, no block cuteness of it kind of just led me to, if I'm not playing against like fatigue or something, it's probably not there.
I gave it 3 stars. I think this is worthy of a card to draft, and I would be happy in either dash. I would be happy, I think, with any hero with this, because anything that gives anything -1 defense when basically so many cards are going to defend for 3 is pretty good. And if you can get 3 attacks off attack action cards in a chain, that's like a lot of value there. And it has crank, I like it. I thought it was pretty good. Do I want like 3 of these? No, but I just want 1. And if I don't boost it away, I think it would be a pretty good card to have had.
Just living in a mech world, like everything has the little qualifier.
It doesn't get boosted away.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Right, well, then it's fine. Then you just like got rid of your no block for go again, which is also awesome. Next up is Penetration Script. It's a yellow 1-costed item that doesn't block with crank. All of these items basically enter the arena with steam counters, and then at the start of your turn, they can destroy them, or they're destroyed. So we'll just kind of try to shortcut that. Your mechanologist attack action cards get +1. I give this 2 stars because it's draft. I mean, it could have 3 stars, because if you have a draft deck and you have a lot of yellows that are like 3s and you turn them into 4s, then that's pretty good. But it's still, I don't think is as good as, well, maybe it is. I said 2, going for 3.
Nice. I'm at 2, same as the last card. Just because, yeah, I mean, if you set this up and then you come in for like 4, 4, 5, 4 or something, it's awesome. But to me, just like you have to get like at least 3 points of damage, right, to get like value out of this card as a card in your deck. And it burned your action point to set it up unless you see it off the top with dash and, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see it, or, getting real value out of it unless you're like playing against like old him or whatever. You know what I mean?
There's like an inherent value that's hard to evaluate in a lot of these items, because like they stay around for a turn, kind of, for your defense before they're destroyed at the start of your turn, because they don't have any steam counters. And the fact that at some point you could use a galvanize card to give something +2 defense and then have a 4 block from hand, when a lot of things have overpower, is hard to evaluate. You know what I mean? So like in a world where we want 3 value out of this, if you attack with a 6er and give it +1 without go again, and then use it for galvanize, and then you have a 4 block, that's 3 points of value right there. So then is it good in a certain deck? Are those the type of decks we want? How good are galvanized cards? Don't know. We'll find out when we get there. So just, I'm throwing that out there.
That's a very good point. I think with these specifically though, like if I'm playing it on the turn and cranking it that I'm getting value out of it, I doubt I'm going to get +3, because I had to play this card and 3 additional attack action cards to get +3 out of it. Right. But You know what I mean? If I'm just going to, or I guess I could play it and then get +1 and then galvanize it. But, that's kind
Yeah,
of,
that's what I'm saying.
then it costs you a whole card just to get +1. I'd rather just have a 3-block in hand.
Yeah, totally. I know. But that's what I mean. There's like that little thing, because galvanize is like, I'm going to say it, is better than it seems.
Nice.
It's super useful. And so having some items that are just hanging out about to die that you can then use as an extra resource for, a resource as in the general broad sense of resources, is good.
And maybe security script is even better. I gave this card 1 star, but I could see if you're
Me too.
playing the long con and have galvanized cards, you could get pretty good value out of this, but it just means you just like stalled on your turn,
Yeah, totally. Not a proactive enough game plan. Could be broken in some sort of build later in life when somebody wins a calling and they're like, security script is the
fatigue,
best.
dash, or whatever comes back.
Yeah, totally. And blocking is super strong in this game. Okay, on to some of my. Did we say what security script does? Your mechanologist attack cards get +1 defense. They're like the same scripts.
Yeah. It's
cool.
blue.
It's cool
blue
design.
Doesn't block 1 cost type.
Yeah, I like those in terms of design space. Okay, some of my favorite cards, which these blew my mind when I fully read them while playing. Backup Protocol red, yellow, and blue are the same, but they're red, yellow, and blue cards. They're mechanologist action items that cost 0. They have crank, and they enter the arena with steam counters, and then those are removed. They all have instant cost 2. Destroy this. Return a red mechanologist attack action card from your graveyard to your hand. Yellow mechanologist, blue mechanologist. So the red, 4 stars. Insanely powerful to just recycle your best card when you see it, or one of your best cards. Definitely was super, super useful in some of my games when I got that bad boy out there. So rad. Because you can go like that into, you can play it, crank it, pitch a blue, get back a 1 for 4, boost it, and now you got 1 floating. Well, guess what? You cranked an item. Here comes in Banksy. Yeah. So it's like 7 damage. It's awesome. And you're threatening to do that shit again. Well, actually not, because you have to destroy it, but it's awesome.
I'm into it. I got 4 stars also. Just get your best card back is great. In a limited set.
Yeah. Yellow 3 stars, blue 0 stars.
Yeah, unless there's some worthless blue broken card I don't know about yet. But next up is Boom Grenade. So rainbow item.
Shout out to Worlds.
Rainbow item. The red is a 0 cost, 0 block item with crank. Enters with steam counter. When a mechanologist attack action card you control hits a hero, destroy this and deal 4 damage to them. So I gave Boom Grenade 5 stars at red. It's like as much of a bomb as this set has, it puts enormous pressure on your opponent. Yeah. And it's really good in dash, or if you have some kind of instant speed Evo shenanigans to pump your attack. It's just like, even if you don't get it to hit, which would be unfortunate, it applies so much pressure that you probably have full momentum.
Yeah. Great evaluation, Isaac. You nailed it. I gave it 4 stars just because, it has downsides because it doesn't block and it's red. But it's really good. 4 stars for both the red and the yellow. 2 stars for the blue. Not as good for what I want in my blue spot, but yeah, super good. And it has all of those applications. It's like, you're like, crap, now breakpoints really matter. And I have to like use another 3 block on this attack for 4 because I'm going to get boom grenaded. So excellent card. One of the best cards in the set, in my opinion, for sure. Next up, we have Dissolving Shield Also a cycle. Has crank. It's a mechanologist item that's free that doesn't block. It has 3 steam counters at red, and then instant. Remove a steam counter from this. Prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to you. And then when it has no steam counters, destroy it. I kind of gave the red a 2/3, and then the other ones just get a 1 star for me. It's useful, but not proactive enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I gave this 1 star. It's just like too cute for the low productivity. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, doesn't do enough for, how costs your action point, doesn't block all that. Which I am excited to play. And this is one thing that I don't know enough about yet, though. It's like you were talking about the like hidden value in cards, right? Like these things that, have crank, have steam counters. You can scrap them, you can destroy them at a key moment. There's all these like extra values, which I did not really credit to cards, but just at face value when I'm looking at it, Dissolving Shield, 1 star. Next up, we have Hadron Collider, rainbow item, 1 cost, 0 block with crank. At red, this enters the arena with 4 steam counters. At the start of your turn, destroy this unless you remove a steam counter from it. When you boost an attack, destroy this. If you do, the attack gets plus X, where X is the number of steam counters on this. I gave this 2 stars. Just because it's like, if you crank it, it's like a 1 for +3. And then if you don't crank it, it's also a 1 for +3. So you have to like instant speed it to get it to a 1 for +4, and it doesn't block and is red. Am I missing something?
No, it's like a step down from Boom Grenade, but will stay around longer, which is kind of nice in theory, but I mean, not really, because as soon as you boost, it's like gonzo. But it's worth it to instant speed it in. I think it also, like, if you can play it off of like medics, which is really good, which medics has become one of my favorite cards when you're just like, surely they don't have an item in hand. I'll just block for 3, take 1, or no blocks. And then boom, Hadron Collider comes down. You're like, fuck. This sucks, So it's pretty good. Just the cards that buff your boosted attacks are pretty valuable, but 3 stars at the red, and then the rest are kind of like 1-starry after that. Gotcha. Next up is Mini Force Field. It's a 1-cost mech item that doesn't block. Red, yellow, blue. It has crank. It gets 4 steam counters with the red, and it has ward X, where X is the number of steam counters. This is a 1-star item for me. It doesn't do enough, and is definitely not a reason to be like, oh yeah, I'll run this in Dash. Terrible off the top.
Yep. Me also, 1 star. And it's just like it costs 1 also, which in Dash you have to pitch a card to play it off the top, but just to play it out on your turn, you can't just even like slap it down as your last card to gain some momentum. It like costs you 2 cards. So
not great.
I think I gave the red 2 stars just because it's like, if you don't crank it, then it can block for 4 on their turn in addition to all the cards you drew up. So it could kind of like buy you a little bit of momentum, but then again, you took damage to play this, so maybe not. All right.
We got to go faster. I just realized how many more cards we have to go.
Gotcha. We're doing all right.
We're doing okay.
A bunch of those at the bottom are just the other cards, you know.
Yeah.
Overload script. All right, I give this 5 stars. Sorry, I have to read it first and then I'll tell you what I rated it. It's a red 0 cost item that doesn't block, has crank, and enters the arena with a steam counter. It reads, your mechanologist attack action cards get overpower. So this is a common item and only comes in red. And I only want one of them. The second one gets, or maybe the third one gets like 1 star, right? But this is just really, really good in any kind of end game scenario. If you can play this out and then the next turn attack for like 6 overpower with boost and then like 8 overpower or something, like that's insane in this set that it seems like it's hard to find ways to push damage. I think it's quite good.
Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Could be a 5-star card. Would not be upset if I had 3 of these. I mean, because most notably, Evos are action cards too. So as soon as you upgrade an Evo from a base, all of a sudden it's an action card and you can't block with that either.
For sure. Overpower in this set is like extra good because all the armor is also action cards.
Yeah. It has the word power, and that should be extra bolded.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. Yeah. Overload script is an absolute hog boss. So good. Would draft 4 of these. Nice. I don't care. Doesn't block. Who gives a shit? My cards are going to have overpower forever. It's really good. I love it. Next up is Megahertz script. It's a yellow, cost 0, doesn't block item. Crank, steam counters, just 1. And then your mechanologist attack action cards get go again. I give this 3 stars. It's not bad. It depends on how many cards you get to give go again. It also is pretty nice because it gives your like cards that normally don't have go again. So like some of the 0 for 3 crank cards, scrap cards, you could give go again into something more relevant after having scrapped or something like that. So has some utility. So gave it 3 stars.
Yeah, I give it 4 stars, and I'm kind of in the same, but it's like, for me, it's the same kind of cool setup thing, right? Like if I get this out, then my next turn I could have like a huge power play that also might not cost me a bunch of cards out of my deck. Or I could give really silly cards that shouldn't have go again. Now they have go again, and I can fire like 2 like tall attacks or whatever. The next card up in this little unique rainbow here is blue autosave script, 0 cost, crank, and it's the arena with a steam counter, and it reads, your mechanologist attack action cards get, when this hits, put it on the bottom of its owner's deck. I'm unsure about this, but I also gave this 4 stars because it just has that same kind of value, right? Like if I have this out and then I attack you with a 4 and a 5 or something, then it's like I just get those cards back in deck unless you give me 2 cards for each one of my attacks. So that's how I was reading that. Maybe that's a little bit too cute, but 4 stars.
Yeah, I only gave it 2 stars. The cards in deck, like all of this, I think cards recurring into your deck are pretty good, but it also depends on the like you don't need it if the quality of your card is up high enough, Like if you have enough overpowers, or like ratchet up is pretty good too in this scenario, as like cards that push through damage or make your opponent block more and that sort of thing. So if your deck sucks, autosave script might help you. But if your deck is better than sucky, then you probably could spend a pick on something better.
Fair enough.
Hyperdriver Red is a 1 cost mechanologist item that doesn't block, enters the arena with 3 steam counters on it, and then you have to destroy it when it has 0. And once per turn, when you boost, remove a steam counter from this card and gain a resource. I gave this 4 stars.
Nice.
It's excellent. It's great in max because now you have a hyperdriver you can crank and it has 2 resources, 2 steam counters left on it. You can hit it off the top for dash, and you super want this. Maybe it's like less good in Teklovossen, but just the fact that it's like a overperformer in max, 4 stars for me.
Nice. This is where your experience is coming into play. I gave this 1 star just because I kind of figured that boosting, well, maybe this is pretty good. It just seemed to me like you would not want to boost very often except on your like blowout turns. So given that assumption, I just gave it 1 star. But maybe that is not the case.
You boost every turn, baby.
It's just so card hungry.
You're boosting. Well, you just run max cards, 40 cards, and you're good to go.
All right, fair enough. Next up is Hyper Scrapper. It's a blue X cost mechanologist attack action card that blocks for 3, and it is majestic. As an additional cost to play this, banish X items from your graveyard. When this attacks, it gets plus X. If 3 or more hyperdrivers were banished to play this, gain 6 resources, and this gains go again. I did not know what to make of this card. I gave it 3 stars because it's a blue block 3 and like might blow somebody up at the end of the game, but you know. I don't know.
I gave it 1 star. Right. I would pass this.
Yeah.
You know?
I think another reason I gave Hyperdriver less stars is because it's not rainbow. So you can't like draft enough of them to get like the good Hyperdriver cards unless you're max. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like at most I had 2 hyperdrivers out, even with having a red hyperdriver in my deck. You know, it's like insanity if you have 3. You know, it might not be insanity, but they're just hard to keep around if you crank them because then they start going away. You know what I mean? So you like only can kind of have 2 out at once. So 1 star, terrible. Next up is Scrap Trader, 0 cost, 2 block mechanologist action. And it has scrap. Gain 2 resources for each card this scrapped. So it's just 4 resources without go again. I think this is probably going to be pretty good in constructed, but in our limited environments, I gave this 1 star.
I also gave it 1 star.
Maybe 0 stars.
Although, as I said in the reaction step, I'm calling it. This card is going to get banned. I think it's broken. Hydraulic Press is a 3 cost, 6 attack. Blocks for 3. Rainbow. At red, attacks for 6. It has scrap. When this attacks, if it scrapped a card, this gets overpower. So I have this at 4 stars. I don't think it's the craziest card in the world, but it's like it has overpower and it's a win condition, and it's a 2 card for 6, which I love in limited. You know, so that's like all the things.
Yep. Always good and limited. Yeah, I agree. 4 stars. I would give it 4 stars for all 3 colors too. Useful the whole time.
Nice.
You know, overpower is like, you need it. You need it to close out the game or just like have a nice mid-game push. You know what I mean? So Hydraulic Press is awesome. Next up, we have Ratchet Up, 1 cost mechanologist attack action, blocks for 2, attacks for 5 in red and comes in yellow and blue. If an item you control has been destroyed this turn, action cards get -1 while defending this. So that also counts for Evos. And then it has Galvanize. When this defends, you may destroy an item you control. If you do, this gets +2. Now, I think I thought this card was like going to be better than it really was. All it really did in my games is force blocks rather than push damage. So it like gains you tempo. So like, if you had 3 cards, one of them's you could pitch a red card, boost it, hyperdriver, get a resource, and then play ratchet up. And that's like, maybe 9 to 10 damage or something like that. But it doesn't like push through damage really. It just makes them like block with cards from hand. So it's pretty good. But so I give it red 3+ stars, yellow 3 stars, blue 1 star. But could have more utility because it has galvanize. So it's kind of a card that does a lot. So it could go up in rating as we get more comfortable in the set.
Yeah, I gave this 2 stars, but I could go up to 3 really, because I just read it as like a 1 for 5 with some upside, right? But it only blocks 2 normally, so that kind of sucks. But just in limited 1 for 5s have utility because they're like cheap. So anytime you can go, 2 or 3 attacks wide, they're just like really blowout cards, like lava burst or critical strike type card, are just like solid. Next up, we have Scrap Hopper, a rainbow 3 block mechanologist attack action, costs 0 at red. It attacks for 3 and it has scrap. When this attacks, if it scrapped a card, create a quicken token. I give this 4 stars, which might be a little bit strong, but to me, it's just like, it costs 0, so it's 1 card to attack for 3. And hopefully you get a quicken token out of it, right? Blocks, so you can block with it, you can end your chain with it, or you can just 1 card it and set up a bigger turn with your quicken token. So it's just like, this is great, not gonna blow anybody out, but no downside.
Yeah, I think you can get better. So I gave it 3 stars just from the fact that it just makes you a token, and a quicken token is pretty powerful because it kind of changes how your turn can go, which is pretty rad. Because you can combo with something that we're going to talk about in the next card in that way. But you just will have better attacks that have like go again from boosting that block 3 and attack for 3. So it doesn't get that extra bump to 4 that you gave it. Mm-hmm. So, but it's like a good role player. So it gets like a 3. So I would be happy to have it, but it's like a rare card. So it's like, you're not going to see it that often. So am I going to, which one of these do I really want? The blue one, maybe, I don't know. Next up is Soup Up, and it's a rainbow, or it's a full cycle. Mechanologist attack action, costs 0, attacks for 4, defends for 2. If an item you control has been destroyed, this gets go again, and galvanize. So +2 block there. What did I give this? I think I'm going to give it 3 stars. Let me see. Yeah, 3+ for the red, and then the rest 2 stars. So a 0 for 4, always good. And it's pretty easy to get an item to be destroyed to give it go again, or Scrap Hopper, quicken token, start your chain off with Soup Up. It's just 4 go again, which is like what you want out of Flesh and Blood cards. So the red is definitely the best one, 3+, 2 for the rest.
Yeah, I mean, I give this card 3 stars just because 0 for 4 is like the classic best cards in Flesh and Blood, 0 for 4 is great. The other things, if they happen, great, but it's just like a 0 for 4. So
I might even give it more because I would 100% pack one, pick one, the red one, Anyway.
Torque Tuned is next, another rainbow attack. Costs 2, blocks for 2. The red attacks for 6. If an item you control has been destroyed this turn, this gets overpower. It also has galvanize. So I'm going to give this 3 stars. I mean, if you can get the overpower to happen, great. But I imagine it wouldn't most times, but just like I like 2 for 6 limited. So that's it.
I gave the red and the yellow 4 stars and the blue 2 stars. This literally won me my game against Levi in one of our pre-releases. I pitch stacked it, got my hyperdriver out there, boosted, lost its resource. Hyperdriver was gone. Torque tuned came in for 6 overpower. He was at 3. He died on his fatigue Teklovasan deck. So 4 stars because it can get overpower and it's like not too hard. I pulled it off pretty often.
4 stars
to get the overpower.
I read the stack 4 stars.
Kills. It basically reads torque tuned, kill Levi, 4 stars. But it's so funny. I kind of thought I lost track of it because you have to boost. So it's like extra taxing on your brain to track your pitch. Mm-hmm. And I had to like opt it down off of a card that hit. And I got to opt, which was awesome. So huge because I was about to boost it away and then maybe not lose. But then I like thought I was like, oh shit, I think I messed it up. And it's 2 cards down. And it's not in my hand right now when I need it to be. And then actually it was 2 cards up and it was in my hand. And I just had lost track of 2 cards somehow. And it worked out. Moving on. Is it me?
Yeah.
Cognition Field. It's a mechanologist block card and it comes in a cycle. So it blocks for 3, costs nothing. But it does pitch for 1 because it's a red. And this just has Galvanize on it. I gave these 2 at best.
Yep. I gave them all 1 star.
Yeah. Basically the same. 2 at best.
Just because, they go down in block value with the pitch. So if I wanted to block for 3, it's a red card, 3 or 5.
And you have to destroy one of your items. Yeah. And it only does that. I mean, it stops overpower, which is cool, but just do the best offense is the best defense.
Yeah. Should we stop reading the cards aloud? In previous set reviews, we did not read all the cards.
Well, I think one's like Infuse Alloy that has Galvanize. We don't need to read what Galvanize does.
Just saying. That's why it's taken us longer this go around. I realize because
we're this far.
All right. You got to stick with your decisions.
Yeah, totally. Right. When we get to the boost cards that just boost.
That's true. Those are all fast. The same. All right. Infuse Ally, I gave 3 stars. It's just a 0 for 4 with Galvanize. Blocks 2.
Same. 3 stars. Less if you're the yellow or the blue.
Less stars for you.
Less stars. Infused Titanium, 3 for 7, full cycle, has Galvanized, defense for 2, aka Kyle. Our good buddy Kyle. The red, 3 stars, rest 2 stars. Although I did use a blue in Galvanize and block for 4, which was crucial. But
I gave this 4 stars. It's a 3 for 7 is awesome. And
I gave it 3 plus. Sorry, red's 3 plus for me.
Yeah, just great. And I mean, Galvanize is cool, but also like it blocks for 2, but odds are you want to keep this card in your hand because this is the best attack in your hand, probably.
Yep.
Moving on. Junkyard Dog is rainbow, 3 block, 6 attack at red, 3 cost. It has scrap, and if you scrapped, it gets +1. Also, he spells his name like Snoop Dogg, which I'm not sure why. But I gave this 3 stars. Could go to 4. It's just the same thing. 3 for 6, blocks 3.
4 stars in the red because he's a good boy.
Because it's a dog card.
Yeah. Yellow got, for me, 3 minus, and then the blue actually gets 3 plus for me.
Because he's a good boy also.
Yeah. It's just good. You block early with one of your like Teklo bases. Boom. Your man's best friend is ready to go for the rest of the game. Yeah, that's
fair. And Teklovasan, the optional scrap cards kind of go up.
Yeah. Scrap Compactor, 0 for 3 mech attack, blocks for 3, has scrap, and when it scraps, you can play an Evo as though it were an instant. 2 stars for me.
Nice. I gave it 4 stars, but I was unsure how that would play out. It only costs 1 card to play it. It's a 0 for 3, blocks 3. And, I was thinking if you played something cool at instant speed, that would save you a whole action point.
I seem like the best Evos for non-Teklovasan are instants anyway. So that's why I rated it so low.
Not in my opinion. Scrap Harvester is a 3 block, 3 cost rainbow attack that attacks for 6 at red. It has scrap, and if you scrap, you put a steam counter on an item you control with crank. I give this 3 stars just for the 3 for 6 reason.
Yeah, I gave this 4 stars because if you can pair it with a key item, then it's like so good because it's unconditional, like all of those ones that are like boom grenade, right? If you have a boom grenade out, they blocked you out and then it's going to die at the start of your turn. Well, now any color scrap harvester says, oh yeah, now that boom grenade stays around. Well, I guess it doesn't because it would still have to it would die at the start of your turn. Okay. So you got to have a steam counter already on some of these items, but then you scrap harvester and it stays around even longer. So potentially boom grenade in dash or a hyperdriver after a Banksy swing that's still sitting there with 1 counter. And then you can use this and you can put a steam counter on your hyperdriver because that's crank because you're max. Super sick. So 4 stars when it's paired with a key.
It is pretty good with boom grenade because they have to block it to not trigger the boom grenade, and then it just keeps it around for next turn too.
Funny. Yeah. So if you play boom grenade first, so good, and then you're fucked for the next turn. So love that. Next up is Scrap Prospector. 0 for 3, blocks for 3, mech attack action. Has scrap, and if you scrap, you gain a resource. This, I think, is the worst one. I gave it 2 stars.
I also gave it 2 stars. Just with no potential go again, unless you do something really tricky. That resource is probably dead most of the time.
Yep.
All right. On to the boost cards or boost related cards. Heist is first. It's a majestic red 2 cost 5 attack that blocks for 3, and it has boost. When this hits a hero, you may put an item with cost 0 or 1 from any banished zone into the arena under your control. I gave this 5 stars.
Yeah, I could be convinced of that.
I mean, it's just like they can't let it hit. Otherwise, you get super value out of it. So, 2 for 5, go again, totally. Hit effect. It's crazy in the set.
I still gave it 4 stars just because you can still just cover it up, has a great hit effect. Upside is massive, but 4 stars. Great card. Maximum velocity. I believe we all know what this does. 2 stars.
I also give it 2 stars. I mean, if you're running a boost deck and you have one of them, it gets better. But we've all seen it be a dead card too. Moonshot is a new yellow majestic 3 block, 3 attack, costs double X. Play only if you've boosted this turn. As an additional cost to play this, destroy X hyperdrivers you control. When this attacks, it gets +3 for each hyperdriver destroyed this way. So I gave this 1 card. Sorry, if it has 10 or more attack, it gets overpower. I gave it 1 star because pulling that off sounds impossible.
Absolutely. 0 stars.
All right. Let's keep it. Let's keep it
Steel
to the
Street
fundamentals. Come on.
Yeah, this is get the fuck out of here with that. Steel Street Hoons, 3 for 3, blue, blocks for 2, boost. If an item you control has been destroyed, this gets +2, and it has galvanize. I gave this 2 stars, but maybe should just give
I
it
gave this
one
one
star.
star and like a riddle me this. What's going on with this card?
It's
It's just
fun
bad
artwork,
all over.
though. It has a funny name.
Anyway,
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about the Majestics in the set, we have rated them all very low, which is very cool that they're very specific. So it's like, even though you're not going to see them, they just might not be like, just doesn't matter.
It's not like,
you know,
Channel Mount Heroic or something, it's like fine.
Yeah.
Twin Drive is up next. 2 cost, 5 attack, 3 block. Has double boost. Which I gave this 2 stars, but I think I'm going to up it to 3 stars because the double boost is optional. You can just boost once, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just a 2 for 5.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's functional. The double boost doesn't really come into play in limited.
5-star art, 3 to 2-star card. For all the reasons you said that. Magnetic Lock Wave, XXX cost, so the sexiest card in the set. Blocks for 3, is an action. Target hero chooses X equipment they control, then you choose one from among them. That hero must defend your attacks this turn with that equipment. If able, go again. 0 stars.
Yeah, 1 star.
Why would we ever
system failure? 1 cost, yellow majestic action that blocks for 2. Remove all steam counters from target equipment, item, or weapon. If 2 or more steam counters are removed this way, deal 2 damage to its controller. I give this card 4 stars. I do like the art, and I think that's pretty good. They're all mech mirrors, and if you can slap it in arsenal or pitch it or like can get it to come up at the right time, you can like kind of cripple your opponent's game plan or setup and deal like 4 free damage to them, which to me is just like, it's like unblockable. It's great.
It would be 2.
Oh, right. Sorry. Just 2 damage. Still think it's pretty good.
It's just 2 damage. Technical difficulty there.
Why? What happened?
Oh, nothing. I just said a few words and you didn't respond. It's only 2 damage.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, you said 4, I thought. But
maybe that was
maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe that was the blip. Yep, I corrected myself.
Yeah.
It is only 2. I still stand by my rating.
Yeah. 1 star, doesn't have go again. There are better cards.
All right.
And it's not an item, and it doesn't have crank. So it just does that thing. Not great. System reset. Cost X is a action. Defends for 3. Banish X mechanologist items you control with cost 0 or 1, then return them under the arena. In the arena under the owner's control. I gave this question mark.
Yeah. 1 star. And it riddled me this.
Absolutely.
I also like how we discussed our rating system beforehand so that we would be on the same page. But your rating system is 1 full number set away from mine. Like, I don't think you've given 1 5-star, but plenty of 0 stars.
I hardly ever give 5 stars.
But you've given a lot of 0 stars.
You love to just give them out willy-nilly.
I think I only have 5 or 6.
Last time you had like 14. I felt like
you were just that annoyed that I gave them out.
No, it doesn't annoy me. I just save 5 stars for the absolute god cards.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be printing those though, which they're not. So that's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
so I just give it the most powerful cards in the set. Anyway, we have Fabricate. I think everybody knows what this does, but it's a red 0 cost mechanologist instant. Choose 2. Equip a base equipment with proto in its name from your inventory. Evo permanents you control get +1 defense this turn. Put this under an Evo permanent you control. You may banish an Evo from your hand. If you do, draw a card. I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. I don't know in limited.
I gave it 1 star.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. Just isn't going to do enough in the limited environment for it to be like, ooh, fabricate. That's so powerful. Can't wait to have that in my deck to boost away later. Bull Bar Boost. If you control a hyperdriver, it gets overpower. 2 for 5, blocks for 3, and then is in a cycle of cards. I gave this in descending from red, yellow to blue 4, 3+, 1.
4 stars. Yep. Spring a Leak is next. Rainbow attack costs 2, blocks for 3. The red is 5 attack with boost, and it reads, when this hits a hero, remove all steam counters from an equipment, item, or weapon they control. I gave this 3 stars. Maybe it should be better because it might force a block if you're going to like strip their pistol or something. But yeah, I think pretty good. 2 for 5 boost, blocks 3, hit effect.
I gave it 2+ stars in red. I think we have slightly better all the time boost cards, and that's why. But it has like,
what is an all the time boost card?
Oh, just like a boost card that all the time has like something better printed on it than potentially nothing. You know?
Oh, I get what you mean.
Because there could be no steam counters.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Effect.
So then it's just 2 for 5 go again. Or 2 for 5 boost. So your favorite card, Isaac, or maybe it's it is yours. Big Shot. 3 for 6, attack action, defense for 3. If you've boosted 2 or more times this turn, this gets +2. Rex Big Gun. Your boy.
Not really my favorite card. I'm just a fan of the names.
Yeah. Super good. I give this 3 stars because it's a 3 for 6, which we like, 2 card 6. And then you can pull this off. I've done this, and it's pretty rad at the end of a chain. 3 for 8 is sick.
Yeah. I gave this 4 stars, and I probably wouldn't want a bunch in my deck, but yeah, like 1 or 2 to try to set up is good. And even if you don't set it up, 3 for 6, you're right.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Next up, we have Burn Rubber. It's a 3 for 5 red rare card. If you've boosted 2 or more times this turn, this gets +2 and can't be defended by equipment. I give this 2 stars. To me, it's just like a worse Big Shot, like kind of a niche other ability, but
yeah, I give it 3-. We're like pretty in line on a lot of these. Most of the time it's like I gave it 2 stars and you're like 5 stars. I feel like is what happened last set. So this is fun. Maybe it's because we aren't mechanologist players. Smash and Grab, 3 for 5. 3 defense. It's an attack. If you boosted 2 or more times this turn, it gets +2, and when it hits, gain control of an item. I gave this also 3-.
Yeah.
3 for 5.
I gave it 2 also.
Could have a good hit effect, but potentially not my favorite rare.
Also, they probably crank the shit out of their items anyway, and they're not going to stay around for very long, just.
Yeah, totally. You get a steamless item.
All right. Next up, Gigawatt comes in rainbow. It's a mechanologist action that blocks 2, costs 1. Your next mechanologist attack this turn gets +4, go again. The red I'll give 4 stars, the rest less, but I think that's pretty good. Just a 1 for 4 pump. You don't have to boost for this extra damage or whatever, so I think it's very powerful.
Yeah. And it works on a weapon because it's mechanologist attack.
Cool.
Yeah. So pretty fun. So all of a sudden your symbiosis pistol is coming in for 6. Mm-hmm. Pretty sick with your leftover resource. But I still gave it 3+ stars. It's pumps are pretty good in this set. I've found out. Like if you can like up the damage of a single card is important. Firewall. It's a block card. Red blocks for 4, and it comes in a cycle. When this defends, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an Evo, put it on top of your deck. Otherwise, put it on the bottom. 2 stars, because I'm unsure how this Evo thing at the top works.
Cool.
If that's
I just
relevant.
figured Tekla was fishing for Evos, so that would help him, move through your deck better. Yeah. I give the red 4 stars. It's just a 4 block, The rest get less.
I guess so.
Or the rest get like 1 star. But I like it for the value. I did make a little
That's fair.
I did make a little note here. Sorry, I have to read it again. Oh, so the boost. So
remember to move the laundry from the washer to the dryer.
Fab note. I just said like all these cards coming up are all boost cards. So to me, they all cost 2 cards out of deck. So I kind of rated them in terms of if you can get 2 cards worth of value out of them with their damage and their effect, right? And you can also consider their flexibility, like if you play them without boost or their block value. But it's just like, any card, if you're boosting it, it costs you 2 cards, not the 1 card. So that's how my ratings work. That makes sense?
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Totally does.
I don't remember where we are, but I'll go first. 0 to 50. 0 for 3, boost, blocks 3. I give it 3 stars. Good role player, cheap cost.
Yeah, totally. 0 cost boosters are great. You like those. So Raina blocks for 3 stars. Perfect role player. Next up is Razzle Dazzle, 1 for 4 boost, blocks for 3, and it's an attack. Also gave it 3 stars, maybe 3 plus if it's the red. Breakpoint, cost 1, defends for 3, on rate. We like it.
Nice. I gave it 2 stars, but might up it to 3. My thinking being that now it costs you 2 cards to play this, but on a bigger turn, that's kind of what you want anyway. Full Tilt, 2 for 5 rainbow boost card. I gave it 2 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 2 plus, just maybe for the red, but yeah, 2 stars. We can do better.
These are all pretty
at the 2 for 5.
These are all pretty good because you can like just attack with them or block with them, right? Or on a big turn, you can boot. It's just like the flexibility is pretty nice.
I mean, maybe it's a little bit different in draft when you can get a full non-boost deck that doesn't boost, so that then when you do boost in relation to your opponent, that maybe is like a greater cost. But in a set where a lot of cards are boosting, these are all commons here, people are boosting.
Like in sealed every deck boost
cost.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And so like the cost of you boosting versus your opponent boosting kind of evens out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha.
I think it's you.
Gas Guzzler, rainbow, boost card, blocks 3. The red, or they all cost 3. The red attacks for 6. I gave this 3 stars. I might down it to 2 though. I'm not sure. I'll have to play to see whether like Full Tilt's better because it's a little cheaper, In the boost strategy, maybe the like 3 for 6 isn't quite as good as like a 2 for 5, just cost curve wise across a wide turn. But this is just a solid Regos card,
2 stars for me. And because of the next 4 cards, I think, spoiler alert, are better.
All
2
right.
stars.
So what's the next one of those 4 cards?
Crankshaft, baby. Boost, 2 for 5, blocks 3. And then if it was banished while you were paying the cost for boost, you could have put a steam counter on a hyperdriver. I give this 2 plus stars, a little cheaper, and has the effect of, hey, I boosted it. Now my hyperdriver is still here.
Yeah, I gave it 2 stars.
Because I think that's how that works, right? Is you pay additional cost, trigger the crankshaft before you gain the additional resource and before the steam counter is removed. So then you get to keep a steam counter around, I think is how that works.
I believe you have the option to order them like that.
Excellent.
Yeah, I like it. I gave it 2 stars, but yep, nice little upside there. Nice little smirk you get if you hit it in your game. Big Bertha, rainbow boost. Red is 3 for 6. When this is banished from boosting, put a steam counter on a hyperdriver you control. Oh, same thing. Same deal. I'll give it 2 stars.
Yep, 2+ for me. So just a plus better than Gas Guzzler because you hit Big Bertha off the top, and it's a little bit more fun and has like an added thing to it.
I mean, these are just good role players, though, right? Like if you're not doing anything too fancy, it's like a 2-card hand strips 2 cards out of their deck. Great.
Yeah, totally. You just don't want too many of these.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Next up is Jumpstart, 2 for 5. Defense for 3. It costs 1 less, though, and becomes a 1 for 5 if you have a hyperdriver in play. Also has boost. In a max deck, this is pretty good. It's a 1 for 5. We love that. I gave it 3 stars.
Nice. Yeah, I gave it 2 stars, but you're right. In a max deck, definitely goes up to 3. Next card is Rev Up. Rainbow. Same thing, but this is the 3 for 6 iteration. And same thing, 2 or 3 stars. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the same. It's pretty awesome. I mean, in max, you got a hyperdriver out there. 2 for 6 go again is dope. Dope as fuck.
Yep.
Super good. And you can like add in, with that extra resource, any type of like buff card that we've seen, whatever the one was earlier, etc., onto the other ones. Like I forget what it's called, but there's like 2 pumps in the set, and you can play them before Rev Up, and it's awesome. Data Link Boost. When this hits, opt 1. Attacks for 3. Defends for 3. Not bad. You like the 0 cost reds to boost for the efficient max plays, but not a break point. So just gets a 3. 3 stars.
I gave it 3 stars. Same as the other role player, except a little upside. It's pretty cool. Also, the opt 1 is pretty good. Like, works with dash, works with boost, works with filtering your deck. It's just, I love opting.
It feels like such a boon being able to opt 1. You're like, oh God, yes.
Or, oh, thank God I'm opting this card away.
Yeah. Or like, oh, awesome, I'm going to draw this. Or, whatever.
Dive through data. Same thing, but it's a 1 for 4. I'm going to give this 3 stars. I actually really like this because it's like a 1 for 4 go again if you want, and the hit opt 1 is pretty good, I think.
Yeah, totally. I gave the red 3 stars. The other ones I like less.
Mm-hmm. No breakpoint.
No breakpoint. Sprocket Rocket, 0 for 3, defense for 3, boost, and if it's an item or equipment boosted, gets +1, which I like that quite a bit. I give that 3 stars.
Yep. I give it 3 stars also. I don't know what's going on in that painting.
It's so good.
It's crazy. It's wild. All right. Moving on. The next one is Dumpster Dive, 1 for 4 at red boost. If an item or equipment was banished from boosting, this gets +1. Oh, same thing. Son of a gun. I'll give this 3 star. I mean, it's basically 1 for 3 or 1 for 4 boost, right? I'll give the red 3 stars.
Yeah, it's good. 3 stars. These are like the cards you want the majority of your deck to be. It's like a lot of these cards because they're just solid in all of these ways.
Especially
Expediate.
If you have Banksy or like a weapon or something you can swing, right? Or like a bunch of 2 costs and the 1 cost boost cards or something, if it lines up like that.
Yeah. Totally. Expedite 0 for 3, defense for 3, boost. When it hits, you may put an item with 0 to 1 cost from your hand into the arena. So I gave this only 2 stars.
I gave it 3 because of the 0 for 3 boost card thing. I don't recommend holding an item that you can't arsenal or something in the hopes that they'll let this hit, because you're really telegraphing it if you just have an extra card, especially if you don't boost. So
yeah. And it'll make sense why I only gave it 2 in 1 second when Isaac reads this card.
X. Same thing, but it's a 1 for 4.
This was, if I gave this one 3 stars.
Breakpoint.
Because breakpoint.
Smart.
And yeah. And it's so fun. Surely they don't have an item. But I'm still going to block, but just take 1 damage. Blammo. Overload script or whatever it is. Outpace. 1 for 4 boost card. Can't be defended by equipment. Now these I think are a little bit better. So they get 3+.
I'm really into this outpace card. It's be quick or be dead in the old rust and dust, says Sandy Shoe. And this looks like Tiny Tina in a Mad Max world. Love every bit of it.
It's just really good too, because like the yellow or the blue I'm fine with, because you then can't use your Evo block that would cleanly
efficiently
block it, which is great.
It can't be defended from hand with equipment either, right? So that's pretty good. But
correct.
I don't know how often that's really going to come up, but just 1 for 4 boost,
Yeah.
Did I give that a 2 stars?
You did not.
Lay waste is the same thing, but 2 for 5 version. And I also gave it 2 stars. Just, old regular role player.
Yeah. I gave Lay Waste 2 stars, where I gave Outpace 3 stars. It's just a little bit more expensive, but gets the job done. Just not as well, not as efficient as Outpace. Sandy Shoe. Fender Bender, 1 for 4 defense for 3 boost. This gets +X, where X is the number of equipment defending it. Basically the same scenario as the other 2 cards, but also they're not going to use their equipment to buff it, especially at the yellow and blue. So it basically says can't be defended, but then has like a niche application. Is a 3. I gave this one just to mix it up. 3- /3+.
I gave this 2 stars because it's not like you can get them. Like, gotcha. Oh, wait, ahead of time and can decide.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not really sure about what that ability is all about, unless they're expecting old him to still be around, or I don't know, somebody's Evo rich and you catch him. Who knows? Next up is Panel Beater. Also give it 2 stars. It's the 2 for 5 version of this and has some wild artwork. I don't know what game they're playing there or what's going on, but
I think they're trying to break into that chest.
Sweet.
Or something.
Yeah. Anyway, 2 stars.
Totally. Probably my wife and me's Halloween costume we're going for.
Cool. I really like that art.
See how worlds /not. I give this the exact same rating, 3- /+. Tee. Okay. 2 of the super best cards in the set, I think. Under Loop, which is a 1 for 4 boost, and if it hits, put it on the bottom of your deck. 4 stars.
Yeah, I agree. Worth
exactly what you want.
I mean,
the right hit effect to battle fatigue and keep your threat density up, and it's at a break point.
Yeah, it's wild that this is like a cheap, right? Like it's 1 for 4, so it's cheap for you, but then for them, it's going to cost them 2 cards still, which is just great.
Yeah.
Or you're going to get it back and do it again. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yep. Love it. Yeah. 4 stars. I think I gave it 3 because it's like a role player, but really you just want your deck full of those. So you're right. 4 stars. Gas Up.
You forgot Overloop.
No, it's the 2 for $5 version. 4 stars. What? Tell
4
us
stars.
about Gas Up, Taylor.
Your next attack you boost gets +4 in red, and you may put a hyperdriver from your banish zone into the arena. Go again. So good. Love this on any of the 2 costies or Rev Up. This is a great Rev Up target. All of a sudden, Rev Up comes in off of a blue for 10, and you put a hyperdriver back in. So now you got an extra resource. It's so good. 4 stars.
You're right. And there's a little dog in the foreground.
Oh, absolutely. 5 stars. Sorry, I forgot. There's a dog. 5 stars. This is also a 2-dog set. Huge. This is a huge moment in Flesh and Blood.
So I gave this 1 star because I didn't want to draw it on a turn I didn't want to boost. But if you're right and boosting is more a part of the set than I assumed, which you probably are since you've actually played it, I do think that this card is really, really good. I was kind of imagining a scenario in which there are like a couple turns in the game where I like boost my brains out and then the rest of the time I don't really boost much. So then I was like, this is, entirely contingent on that. But yep, if I'm boosting every turn, this card's solid gold.
Yeah. I guess maybe I shouldn't give it 4 stars. Maybe it should be 3+ because you have to have a red hyperdriver you have boosted. So,
well,
a little bit more niche.
You may,
but it is
to get full value.
Yeah, totally. But that's baked into kind of the cost of the card. So it's still a 1 for 4, which is really good. But I think the next card's better. So I'm downgrading to 3.
Okay, Quick Fire is a 2 for +4, but it costs 1 less to play for each hyperdriver you control.
Hell yeah.
Right. Don't have to have boosted this turn. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, this card's like 4 star and
well, you only get the plus if you boost.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So you do have to boost.
So this is like the same. I put this at 1 star, 4 stars and boosty max.
4 stars. 4 stars.
Cool.
In all colors, basically. It's just super good to get a near free pump, and just pumping your cards in the set is really good because that's like also a form of evasion and card stripping. And so if like you play that, you boost, takes 2 cards, you get another boost on the chain, swing the Banksy or shoot the pistol, you're either pushing through damage or taking all 4 cards, and that's like totally fine.
This is why I found this set hard to evaluate, because I'm like, well, fuck, am I playing a boost deck or not? This card's either fire or trash. But
yeah. In the deck, like you're not playing that if you got a bunch of scrap cards, because then it would be bad. So, yeah. Continue. Second to last card. We can
recharge. It's pretty similar. 1 for +4 at red. Put a steam counter on a hyperdriver you control. That's pretty good. So if this is your strategy, 4 stars. If it's not, 1 star. I had all these at 1 star.
Oh, I had all of these basically at 4 stars.
You just played a bunch of boosty max.
Well, just like you just wouldn't spend a pick on this if you weren't in that deck. Yeah. And they're so good in that deck that they get 4 stars.
Yeah, that's a good evaluation.
You know what I mean? And you can put them in dash also. I mean, you'd have to have a hyperdriver, but even still, just 1 for 4 is really, really good. Just off of a blue, you go in for 9 damage with Go Again, which is crazy. Which is pretty crazy in this set. Last card, Teklo Force Field. When this defends an attack action with Overpower, it gets +2, and it's a block card. Red one is for 3, then goes to 5, and then 4, and then 3. I gave this -1 star.
Yeah, I gave it 1. I can see if you're trying to play a slower deck, though, having like 1 or 2 of the reds. And I'm assuming you can play block cards out of Arsenal because
You cannot.
what? But it reads block, so wouldn't that be playing it?
Nope. You have to have
fuck
ambush.
that then. Yeah. 0 stars. Because
Yeah,
if
-1
you
star.
could park it in Arsenal and like towards the end and save it for when it comes up, but since you can't, then you have to just draw it, like counter pitch stack them.
Yeah.
But you would have had to have seen it, like when they were. Anyway, you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, -1
All
star.
right. Should we get into all these generic? No, I'm just kidding.
We did it. Set
Hooray.
review. I think this was definitely the most of a consensus we've had on cards together
Agreed.
in the last 3 set reviews we've done, which is interesting. And maybe this set was easier to evaluate than we thought it was also. Or we're extremely wrong, or we're extremely right. It's Schrodinger's mechanologist right now. It's all possible until we open the box.
And the thing,
which will happen next
I felt
weekend.
like a lot of this set was like there's a lot of synergy, right? And like dependence. So if everything comes together and synergizes well, a lot of these cards are really, really good. You get really good value out of them. But if they don't quite line up, then they're just like an item that doesn't block and you don't get value out of it. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're a master drafter and like craft this excellent deck that synergizes really well, I think like a lot of these cards go way up in value. But again, if they're not, working with each other, then you're just kind of on the like 2 for 6 train or whatever that I was kind of like evaluating everything just in terms of good fundamentals rather than, the high level limited play that you could be figuring out.
I mean, in limited, you still need good fundamentals.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And there's like a level of everybody can run all of the same cards that everybody is susceptible to all of the same stuff. You know what I mean? Like you definitely are leaning one way over another. But to fill up your deck, you still need cards of other types and that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So like if fatigue is a real issue, then you definitely are running 40 cards. And then with that means, well, I probably have a couple of no blocks and I have some boost cards and, etc. So there's a level of, since everybody's doing it, it's less of a liability, but it depends on like the degree in which everybody's doing it as well. Does that make sense? Or is that crazy?
No, I think I get what you're putting down.
Like if the majority of the attacks you got are like boost attacks, you're probably going to like boost some, you know what I mean? And then if you have like a bunch of equipments, then you can scrap more when you block with them, but you're also susceptible to hands that like won't block because, you can't block with equipment on some of these cards. You know what I mean? So there's like all of these like little interplays happening with all of the cards in everybody's deck.
For sure. So I could see, so if you're playing true fatigue though, like you could see how Teklevossen would not boost with their boost card. Instead, you might have to double pitch to just swing the pistol, but then that card's still in your deck to block for 3 later on, right? If you're just counting cards, then, obviously you're not going to boost or you're not going to run no blocks except for Evos or, whatever. But
Totally. But to like eventually have a weapon, you have to get Evos online. And at some point, you probably have to save cards to not block.
Yep.
You're like going to take damage. So there's like
and
that
if you're
too,
pure fatigue,
you
you're
know?
giving like mechanologists full agency, which they can build some pretty big turns. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed our set review. I am excited to see how we do and what cards like level up in our brain. I don't think, if memory serves, we have ever been like ridiculously wrong, though. You know?
I don't remember it that way.
Yeah. Most of the time I'm like, oh, that card is just better than I thought it was. Not like it's unplayable. It's absolute trash. That's stupid. And then it's like a staple of the set. You know, we're not idiots. Enjoy your release weekend and learning how to draft bright lights.
Enjoy building your mechs.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Attack Action Podcast. On Twitter, we are at BattleBro Taylor and at BattleBro Isaac. Shoot us an email, theattackactionpodcast@gmail.com.
If you would like to support us, like and subscribe, shop for singles using our affiliate link, or support our Patreon for as little as $4 per month.